Hello everyone, this is Rick and welcome to Astral Club. This week we're going to talk about visit to ultramassive black hole. Before we get into it real quick, if you're interested in supporting the work here of Astral Club, and many of you are, thank you. When you join, there's no commercials, there's an email where we can talk back and forth, and you get your advanced videos on Sunday. And there's a link in the description if interested. If you'd like to learn to astral project, or if you just like to improve the quantity and quality of your present projections, be glad to offer a private lesson. You'll find an email in the description where you can request more information. Great. Okay, now I left my body a few days ago. I mean, really, my angel guide told me that I should probably not astral project for a while, just to keep a low profile after the events of the Broken Up Galactic Peace Conference. My angel is extending his protection around me while I'm in the physical, but when I go into the astral, I'm no longer being protected. So he asked me either to not to project, or if I had to at least try to keep a low profile. And so I've been trying to travel to far away places in time and space so as to not make a lot of large ripples. Recently, I ran across a fascinating celestial object. It's called TON, T-O-N, 618. Now, TON 618 is a monstrous, hyperluminous radio quasar sitting in the constellation of Canis Venatici. And that is about 18.2 billion light years away from Earth. And by the way, the English name of that Latin constellation is hunting dogs. So this quasar is located in this particular faraway galaxy, which is 18.2 billion light years away from Earth. In this hyperluminous galaxy, which is quantified as a quasar, there's this ultramassive black hole. This central black hole is the engine of the quasar, and there's an accretion disk that shines brighter than thousands of galaxies. As a quasar, TON 618 is a galactic nucleus at the center of an invisible galaxy. To try to share with you why this thing captivated me is that the mass and size of this black hole is a whole nother dimension. It's estimated to be at least an incredible 66 billion solar masses. Now, the entire Milky Way galaxy, if you add up all the mass in the entire Milky Way galaxy, you'll only come up with about 64 billion solar masses. So this black hole has so much mass, it has more mass than the entire mass of our Milky Way galaxy. This thing is just enormous. There's no other way around it. And it's fed by this enormous accretion disk, which from so far away appeared to our early astronomers, as a quasar. It was visible with powerful telescopes. It's very bright, but it's very far away. But I was able to do some research on it, and I checked out the right ascension and declination. Now, I was an amateur astronomer when I was a kid. I always had a telescope. So I am very well aware of how you locate a celestial object in the sky using right ascension and declination. Just think of those two things as kind of a celestial latitude and longitude. It's a way to find a fixed point in Earth's sky. So with that information, I decided that, okay, perhaps this is a nice way to once again kind of be out of the way of the general occurrences that are happening right now. And so once I left my body, I concentrated on that point in the sky where I knew this Ton 618 galaxy was located. I made sure that my intention would put me outside of this galaxy. A black hole, an ultra-massive black hole of a size like that, which could very well, according to our scientists, be the largest black hole in the universe. I wanted to be careful. I wanted to make sure that I would appear outside of the galaxy because I don't want to accidentally put myself into the event horizon because a monster that big, I can only imagine what electromagnetic impulses and energy must be surrounding such a thing, and the gravity must be enormous. So it was better to be safe than sorry. So I realized there was a risk. When you're dealing with something like this, if you don't keep your destination firmly in mind and allow it to wander, you could end up in a bad situation. But I was fascinated by this object and I wanted to check it out, and once again it was kind of out of the way, so I felt fairly safe to check it out. I started hurtling towards that area of space where I knew this galaxy was located. I quickly lost consciousness. When you lose consciousness, it's impossible to have really a good sense of time. But over the years of time and space travel, I've kind of gotten a sixth sense for how long or how far I have to go. And I can tell you here that this was by far the furthest point that I had ever traveled to. I could just sense it. So when I finally regained my consciousness, I was floating just outside of this enormous galaxy. In the interior was a monstrously huge black hole. I could sense its power even from where I was, well outside of the event horizon. It was majestic, but at the same time, I had to control my impulse to be either fascinated or drawn into a fearful response. This thing just radiated power. I would imagine that it would probably be a little like watching some monstrous fish like the megalodon swallow a whale, or something of that nature, where you've got this enormous beast devouring another enormous beast. The light of the galaxy was extremely bright, and it was revolving about the black hole. Now, it appeared to me to be doing so slowly, but based on how far away I was and my knowledge of astronomy, it must have been moving pretty fast around this huge ultramassive black hole. And there was a steady stream coming from inside the event horizon that was spiraling into the black hole, feeding this enormous force of nature. I couldn't help but be awed by the sight of this. I was tempted to get closer so that I could get a better feeling for the energy that this thing was giving off. But luckily, I think the smarter side of me decided to keep my distance, because who knows the effect that such a monster could have on my astral body. Who knows? I mean, something that enormous with that much mass and gravitational pull, it was, it probably was a good idea to keep my distance. I sat there and I just stared at it for a good period of time because I was just in awe. It was almost hypnotizing. Now, as I focused in, when you focus your astral vision, you can get closer. It's almost like having a set of binoculars if you concentrate on seeing something. And I think I could see where the event horizon was essentially where its boundaries were, because the movement of the gases slowed down dramatically, and then it seemed to be frozen in place, which was interesting because outside this event horizon, the gases were spinning around quite quickly. And I imagine if I'd gone inside of the galaxy, I might have even been able to sense the motion of such hot gas as it was circling this enormous black hole. But it was interesting because it seemed that the time had essentially stood still for that gas, because it looked like it was frozen in place. I decided to return to my body because I couldn't think of anything else to do after staring at this thing for a period of time. And as I said, deciding not to get closer to it, I just kind of marked the ident and I decided to return to my body. But on my way back, I felt like I was being hooked and taken to another place. And when I regained my consciousness, I found myself in front of my angel guide, which was a surprise. I wasn't expecting that. And so when I saw him, we were in that conference room once again, and he was standing up, and I just kind of appeared near where I normally sit in the conference room. And he told me that he had decided to snag me before I returned to my body because I had a visitor, an old friend, he told me with a wry smile, had come to see me. And with that, from the corner, which I didn't notice him at first, behind my angel, outstepped Toadman. And I actually said, "Toadman, what are you doing here?" And then I kind of corrected myself. I was like, William, what are you doing here? Certainly I was suspicious because Toadman, or William, is the right-hand man, supposedly, of the Master. And if you've been listening to this channel long enough, you know who I'm talking about. If not, go to my history of the Master and you'll get some background there. But also you could see the Subastral Hell episodes, those might let you know. And also my visit to Philadelphia prison, where I first met this very interesting soul who had been he'd been a criminal in Philadelphia. He'd been arrested for murder in a bar fight in Philadelphia. He stabbed a man to death in a bar fight. But what people didn't know is that he had been secretly committing atrocious murders of young children. And my guide and I had met him still existing in an abandoned Philadelphia prison. And I guess that's where we had encountered him originally. The rest of the story is long. I don't want to get into it. But after I asked him, what he was doing there, and he certainly sensed my suspicion, he told me that the master was in trouble, and that after the failed attack on the Greys, the forces on the third and the fourth dimension for the master were in retreat, and that he had essentially been abandoned by the master, he told me, but he knew the master's plans. And if my angel and I would agree to arrange another reincarnation for him, one that he would find acceptable, he'd be willing to tell us what the master's current plans are to flee the whole situation. He was going to abandon his forces and flee. And I guess Toadman had asked to be taken with the master, but the master just kind of looked down his nose at him and said that he was no longer needed. So here I'm confronted with this individual. I said, "You realize this sounds like a trap, right?" I said this to my angel and William at the same time. And with that, Toadman gave me a small smile, and he said, "Of course, it does sound like a trap, but I trusted you, Rick, when we made that deal in the sub-astral hell, and you honored your word and came back for me when the master had pretty much abandoned me in that place. And in turn, you trusted me to take you out of the sub-astral hell by another route, since there was a trap set for you, and I honored my bargain with you as well. So I know that you can be trusted, Rick, and you have to decide whether you can trust me." Now, just thinking of the crimes that I had seen through Toadman's eyes that he had committed in the mid-1800s turned my stomach. And I had to try to stop my feeling of loathing for this creature before me. But here was a chance to definitively get the drop on the master and to capture him and deal with him once and for all before he escapes and raises some other army somewhere else. So I looked over at my angel and I kind of sent him a tight beam just between the two of us, and I asked him what he thought, and he shared my understanding of, he understands betrayal. It's something that we have discussed in the past, and he was suspicious as well, but at the same time he was eager to end this conflict too, and the last thing anyone wanted was for the master to escape. And if we have a chance to catch him and to contain him in some way, then we don't want to miss out on that opportunity. So, I looked at Toadman and I said, I think we can make a deal here. I think we can promise to set you up with a suitable reincarnation. I just want you to know that you're not going to get set up pretty. You're not going to end up in some spot as a king or a president or what have you. But I think your terms are reasonable. But keep in mind that we're extending our trust to you for right now. But you have to understand that we're going to tread carefully here based on the intelligence that you want to share with us, because if this is a trap, you're going to pay the price as well as your former master. Is that clear? And then he responded, Toadman responded perfectly, and I agree to those terms. At that, he began to outlay what the master's plans were. But that's going to be for another episode. If you liked this episode, please hit the like button. Share it with those of like minds. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, make sure that bell is on so you're notified when the Wednesday afternoon and the Saturday morning podcasts are published. And please continue with your questions and comments. I love that stuff. You guys always come up with great questions and comments, and quite often I can use them in episodes so you get your question answered online. And as always, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.